Thanks a lot for joining me again, Wade. It's been a while, and well, I want to talk about running in competition today. If you can give us some insight as to how you do running in competition at your age right now in your life, and some past history of what you've been through. And if you want to go ahead and jump right in and let us know.
Sure. Yeah, look forward to talking about that. That's something that's been a big part of my life as well as your life. So you equally have just as much to share, but I'll be glad to share, my insights and my thoughts about, competing later in life and then, the younger years and what I've learned over that period of time. It's been more than just a sport or a hobby. It's really a lifestyle, and it's something that has played a big role in the development and the ups and downs of life, and being able to manage it, I guess. It's really
Absolutely.
one of the biggest things I think it's done for my life. It's just it's a release. It's a release, and I think we all can benefit to have some kind of release. And the more physical, the better. In my case, I have a lot of hyper energy, I think is what the word might be. And I think that running is a good way to get that out and do it in a constructive way.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was just going to jump in real quick and say that some of us have multiple personality, I guess, I wouldn't say flaws so much, maybe characteristics that maybe are a little distracting or get in the way from us having a productive life or doing things effectively or productively. And some of us have to deal with ADD, ADHD. I've never been formally diagnosed, but I probably had ADHD and ADD, lack of focus when I was a kid in school. And I didn't really do very good in school, especially elementary, and high school was terrible. But once I got into college, I got more focused. But yeah, there are certain things in our lives or our personalities that maybe they're external or internal influences that distract us from doing the best that we can do. And that's a great point. So can you tell us a little bit about your past and how you got into running for the first time?
I think, well, maybe like a lot of boys, I really loved sports in general, just throwing the football around and playing football, basketball, baseball. And that's where that felt like home to me. I just, being able to play and school, like yourself, maybe. I mean, it was maybe even more of an issue, but I was very self-conscious. I mean, I got too nervous, and I knew that I had a hard time reading. So whenever I read in class, even if I were to be asked how to spell my own name, I would freeze up, So there, I was people always said I was a different person on the playground than I was in the classroom. And so that played a role. And as I got older, I didn't grow. I didn't get as big. I'm not, I'm just maybe average 5'9" or whatnot, but I always had the thinner build. So I just remember getting hit in playing football one time. It was like the first or second year with pads, and just got flattened out. And I went back to the bench and thinking, gosh, this isn't as much fun anymore. I still kept with it. But within, it was like a month or so, I was sitting in math class, and the math teacher asked me to stay after class. And I was all nervous, thinking, great, now I'm having trouble with math too. And rather than him come to me, just I waited, and everybody left the class. And then a math teacher from the next class over came over and said, "Did you know who I am?" I said, "Well, no." I said, "The math teacher." And he said, "Well, I'm the track and cross country coach." And he said, "The gym teacher showed me the mile time that you ran." And he said, "That's the fastest mile time that our middle school has ever seen." And I said, "Oh, great." He said, "Would you come out and run with the team and just meet the team?" So I went and met with them, and then I went home and told my dad, and he said, "Well, okay, let's go for a run." And so we ran for 2 miles, and I said, "Why would anybody do this?"
Yep. For people who don't have it in their blood, or they just need it as part of their lifestyle, they don't understand. They're like, how can anybody like doing this? And I remember in high school, the football players or any other sport other than cross country and track would say, or the track and cross-country runners would say, our sport is your punishment. And it was true,
Right.
because nobody wanted to do running exercises or calisthenics, not calisthenics. They never wanted to do sprints or the relays where you'd fly back and forth, where you'd go a distance and then you go back and then you go farther and go back. They hated those things. I remember people in football and baseball and basketball having to do those drills and hating it so much because it would just take the snot right out of them. But for us, I guess maybe we're a different breed, that we want that physical pain to distract us from the internal mental pain or emotional pain that we have, right? I think that's what it was for me. It distracted me and it made me feel like I was alive, and also that I was actually becoming more physically fit. And then I saw results, and I had some talent and I saw results. The harder I worked,
Yeah.
if you rest a little bit and then you come back, you're like, oh, hey, I can run this faster. It's so exhilarating to feel that as a young whatever, adolescent, teenager, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, go on, jump right back in and tell me what happened after that.
Well, yeah, ironically, 40 years later, here my dad, just up until maybe a year ago, he stopped running. But yeah, so I after going out for that run together, I still went out went to practice with the team, and then did my first race, and ended up being, the coach was just talked me up so much and made me feel just amazing. So it just built this confidence, and it just kept building, and and then to place high in these races and get that recognition, yeah, it was addictive. I mean, it became that part of it. And then, yeah, as you become more accustomed to what you're doing, and it builds, and the more miles you put in, the more miles you just start to feel a sensation that, yeah, I'm sure you experienced. It feels like you're floating. It almost feels like there's no effort. When I was at my best, to do 10 miles, that meant nothing. It just meant, how fast can you run that 10? Because you could literally phone it in, and people don't understand that, and I
Right.
think it's just anything a person does repetitively over and over and over. And if you put the time in and you actually enjoy the process of of the training.
Yeah, what you said about getting better and how effortless it felt after a certain time, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. And it's like working your mental muscles. You have physical muscles that if you work them a certain way, whether it's aerobic, endurance, distance, speed, fast twitch muscles, slow twitch muscles, it all works in your favor if you work them the right way and you make a progression over time to become better. But it's all a strategy. And that's where you need a coach who has the mentality that it is a strategy. And if you do it the wrong way, you keep on pounding yourself too hard and you don't rest, you don't take an easy run to get, the glycogen built back up, the rest that you need, that your muscles need to fuel themselves again at some point. And if you don't feed your muscles with the proper nutrition, protein, iron, vitamins and minerals, and good stuff like, leafy greens, vegetables, fruits, complex carbs, all that stuff plays into it. How you fuel up the night before a big race, that sort of thing. And if you don't do it the right way, it's can be disastrous, especially if you're running longer distances like a marathon or half marathon. But the 5Ks, 1600s, 3200s, even the faster 800s, which is basically just a hair below a sprint, it really matters how you train. And I say you don't have to worry about taking all your glycogen for those shorter races up to about 2 or 3 miles, because it's over before it's even tapping into your glycogen stores.
But at some point in time, I had to revisit that it was a crutch too. That makes it a little unique. But it was something that was key in my life to help get me to where I needed to go, so I could continue to develop my confidence that I could do. If I could put my mind to doing this, I could put my mind to doing a lot of things that maybe I didn't think I could do before.
Right.
And running was great. And I would have never gone to college. I didn't receive a scholarship right away. I had to earn that after a few years to get even what I did. But it was there was a chip on my shoulder because I didn't end up making it to state. I think it was part of it was my inability to manage the. I thought the moment was like when I get in a big race, it got too much to me. I put too much pressure on myself, and I never performed at the highest level, and so I didn't make it to state in cross country, and then track. After the second race of the year, I was playing baseball, and I broke my toe and missed the core of the season. And at the end, I was able to do conference. My time didn't qualify I didn't place high enough to move to state. So, but that, in the long haul, that was the chip on my shoulder that took me and said, I have unfinished business. And that I went to college, and just like anyone else, you can just get throttled. There's people, I can't even, they were far more talented and achieved so much more, but they just didn't want it bad enough. And they knew they didn't like being in the middle of the pack, or not being on the varsity team, right away, because they're used to being the big dog. College was very interesting, or great opportunity to learn and realize it's that desire. You can't coach that. That's you have a little bit of ability, but your desire is strong and deep, and that's the kind of people you want to on your team, or regardless of what sport that might be.
Sometimes it's really difficult for kids of a certain age, junior high, high school. They have limited life experience, especially with competition, and they may, like what you said about, they may be talented, or they may be used to winning in smaller groups of the usual crew that they've been with on their team, and on the junior high and high school teams that come around to the track meets or cross country meets and invitationals. And then you don't know what's in store for you in the future. And when you go to college, it's a whole different ballgame. I've heard from so many people, relatives of mine, people that I've known, when they got to college and they tried to, they're big man on campus when they're in high school maybe, and you may even go to state, do really well, maybe even win state. But when you get into even a D3 school, D1 and D2 are a whole different thing altogether. But even if you're in a D3 school, that level of talent can just be so much farther ahead, or challenge you to do your best. And your best may not be, it may be just average for a college team, even in a smaller school that doesn't really focus on, their track or cross country being the primary sport, and they're not really well known for that. It's difficult because it taps into your insecurities, and you feel like, well, I built up my security a little bit, my internal security in high school. And I think that's what happened to you, is you finally tasted some success. And then that did wonders for your self-esteem and self-worth. But then when you got into college, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of knocked you down a few notches. And as well as other people, I'm not saying that you were arrogant in any way. I'm just saying that once you got your confidence built up a bit, it was humbling, wasn't it?
It was,
To come into college and not have that same level of, success. And then you're like, I got to work that much harder now.
Yeah. And that relates to being, older now too. But there's how much do you want it, and how, do you love it enough to put that time in? Because
right.
if you don't enjoy some aspect of it, other than just, making you feel better about yourself. But that was there. So for me, I just poured it all in and ended up having a really, a very successful collegiate career because of that. So, but yeah, there was state champions and people that have been from bigger schools, and they just, and it just blew my mind. How can you not? How can you not? You have so much ability. They didn't want to put the time in, and they didn't like not being the top dog or winning, and if they were, Division I level and they're doing Division III, they think, that's just not, where's the reward for them? That wasn't the way I was wired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. I really appreciate you going and talking about your history, throughout high school and college. And so I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and ask you how this all translated, and the experience that you've had in your younger years, how did that translate to you competing after college and, going for community races or other races that were not around your hometown or area? Did you increase your level of self-worth and self-confidence over time, and how did you find the competition to be, later in age, from your I don't know if you competed in your 30s, 40s, all the way up into your 50s? How has that progressed over time?
Yeah, right after college, I moved out to Colorado because I so, inspired with the marathon, because that's where the further the better for me. I realized that, and to finish off my running collegiate career, I did the marathon. They actually in Winona State back then was NAIA, and they had that actual marathon. And I, rather than do the 10K, I did the marathon for the first time. I ran a half marathon during the summer to qualify to do it, and it was in Texas, and I ended up finishing second place. And despite the fact that I really didn't know what I was doing, yeah, it was like a 2:30 marathon, and I thought, well, I want to see how good I can get. So I moved out to Colorado and hoping to train, and I trained quite a bit for those years, and some big races. Boston Marathon was my very best. That was a 2:27, and I was like 38th or something. And it was that was really exciting to do that. So, but unfortunately I was putting a lot of miles in, and back then, even nutrition and all these things, and the fact I was running a business, and that's all I was doing was running a business, and I had basically no life. But I put all this time in, and it eventually caught up with me. I wasn't sleeping, and so I started getting injuries, and so I stepped away for a little while, and then had a family and a lot of other things. Over the years, I still dabbled in it in my late 30s and the mid 40s, enjoyed it. And it's a little bit of adjustment that, as an older, if you have a history when you're younger, your PRs you can't really say PRs anymore. It's like, because when you're younger, you had such high PRs, you have to look at it differently. Say, as a 40-year-old, this is pretty good time, or this, I placed in my age group or whatnot, and you have to be okay with that. It's just,
That's right.
You just have to adjust. So now into my mid 50s, I'm coming back. I think I'll still do some races. I'm concerned. Well, I don't know if I'm concerned. It is what it is, but I may not have that edge that you need, because I enjoy the competition, but it's not quite as, I don't know what it is. I
Intense,
love,
or maybe not quite as critical to place a certain level or
right.
time, right?
And it's not that I don't mind going out to go and hammer a little bit. I'd much rather just go out for a long run and enjoy, and if I feel good, I go. But when I train for an event, well, you got to look at it differently. You got to throw a couple of speed workouts in, and that's and it's okay to commit to it, and we'll see. But in the actual like grand scheme of things, it's not quite as big a priority to me as it once was. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think this summer I will do a couple shorter races, maybe 10Ks or 5Ks. See what's there, see if I enjoy it, and if I do, I'll keep coming back.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you on that respect. What you said, it had a lot of wisdom to it, and I think that just comes with age and experience and loving the sport of running, being able to run and to do physical activity at your level, no matter what age. Because again, we touched on this before, that it is something that we were always going to love, and that the competition aspect is still within us, and it's exciting, but maybe not as exciting as when you were young and you could fly like the wind. And it may feel like you're flying like the wind right now, but maybe it's just the wind that's flying and really not you. I have to have the wind carry me along a little bit sometimes, but it feels great to be able to get out there. And you're absolutely correct on feeling good. You know, if you respect your body and you are kind to your body and listen to it, you will hit those times again and speeds. They may be few and far between, or maybe not as many times, very sporadic, sparse. That's the name of the game. That comes with age, and we have to accept that for what it is, right? And I get that message from you.
Yeah.
That's really great.
And I think the one thing you mentioned about nutrition and athletes now, and it's a very focal point, and I think there's something that I'd like to really commit to seeing what implementing those things, and knowing the fact that yes, as you get older, it's that much harder to really get the best out of it. It's not as like you get out the door, you just stretching, you're just gone. I mean, just boom. You need to take a little extra time to warm the muscles up. You need to eat a little better, stretch a little more, do all these little things, and they'll all add up to helping you. But the whole process is.
One thing I've noticed too when I'm going on runs as well, that has changed in recent years, is that I always want to feel like I want to burst out the door. Like you said, you feel like you want to do it. Your mind, your brain wants to go, but your body is not always cooperative. So when my first quarter to half mile, I've noticed that if I push it a little too much, my chest will get very tight, and I'll feel it not only in my chest, but I'll feel it in my back too. It's like my overall rib cage, my thorax all together. It just feels tight and restricted, and I feel a little bit of pressure. I feel pressure and pain a little bit. But if I stop, or if I slow down and I ease into it, it's really, really difficult to ease into things. But that is exactly what we need. We don't have fast twitch muscles like we used to. And we feel like we want to just burst out, but it's just more and more of a risk to our health, to our physical health. And it's very humbling to have to do that, but it really is necessary. And I don't know, this might be an internal thing with you too. It is with me. But when I'm out on the road and people are watching me, I mean, there's always traffic when you're out on the road running, and you never want to stop. You never want to stop and walk, because you think you might run across somebody you know, and then they're thinking, oh, look at him, he's walking, he doesn't have what it takes anymore. It's just that really insecure feeling inside that you can never really get rid of. And it just seems on one level just so immature to be thinking that way. But it's really a deep down sense of, I guess, pride in yourself, and not wanting to show people that you don't have it anymore, or that you're taking it easy or whatever. I got to stop doing that. I mean, I've been trying to do that more and more, just actively rebel against that thought and not be so controlled by that thinking. Like I have to put on a performance or a show for my audience who are driving by in cars. And you know what? If you think of it on a different level, chances are, I bet you 99 to 100%, they don't care whatsoever what you're doing. They'll look at you because you're in their area of residence, right? They'll look at you and I think what they do mostly is they try to spot and see if they know you. And that's pretty much it. Like if they know you, oh, I'd never seen that guy before, or maybe I've seen him around a couple of times running, or maybe it's in somebody in your neighborhood and you're like, oh, hey, there's Nick running. You know, it's whatever, you know, it's like we got to stop doing that to ourselves and playing those mental games, you know, because it's not worth it, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. They, in most cases, they just don't care. I
They
mean,
don't care at all.
I
Or
know.
very little.
They've got their minds chattering just as much as ours is.
That's right. They got their own problems and our issues or things they got to do and
Yeah.
priorities, just like everybody else. And we have to focus on ourselves and what we can do to be better and change and whatever, be productive.
You should live out by me. I don't see at such a small town. I got deer and animals run across. So no, I don't have as much of that, but I do. It's back like when I was maybe running in the city or running in Colorado. It's a different feel because there's so many people like yourself doing the same thing. It never dawns on you.
That's true. I think that's true in the Midwest to some extent too, but I think in Colorado, it's really a big thing. Sports and running and ultra marathons. It's a huge thing out there. But yeah, that's a great point. Go ahead.
I don't know if it ever dawns on your mind too, but I'd like to think, and I can't help but think that there's some really good things, even if we don't know these people. But they see us running, whether we're walking once in a while or running, just we're out there, and it plants a seed, you know. And maybe we may never cross a path, but it's like, yeah, maybe I should get out and run, or that looks like fun. You know what I mean? How can that not? If we're, you know, not grimacing and
if we look like we're dying, then it doesn't look like it's fun at all. It's like, well, I'm not going to do that now. So you have to lift your head up and you got to get good form, even though you feel like you want to collapse. You just have to show and big smile on your face, like, hey, this is fun. It feels great. But you bring up a great point too, that you never know who you might be inspiring as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think the other day I started to do some like a minute on, minute off repeats. And by the end, I was just a mess. And there was a couple people that saw me, and I just went down to my knees and I was just gasping for air. I'm thinking, I don't think they're going to be too inspired.
No.
But that's all right. That's what you need to do to.
That's right.
Get yourself better, and they got other things going on.
That's right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up because we're bumping up against the time limit. But I do want to thank you very much for your time again, Wade, and it's been a pleasure talking to you about this subject.
Yeah, you too. I look forward to hearing more about your, just talking off air about your path too.
Sounds good. All right, I'll let you go for now. Thanks a lot, Wade. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up by clicking on the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to our channel. Also, be sure to click the notification bell when you subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. Take care of yourself and take care of each other.